energy sources to lessen greenhouse gas emissions. Bangladesh has also launched a massive reforestation program that aims to reforest 20% of its land by 2015. This creates a carbon sink. To fund this plan, Bangladesh has two funds. The first one is the Climate Change Trust Fund, funded by the government, and it has the Climate Change Resilience Fund, which is in partnership with Denmark, the EU, Sweden, the United Kingdom, and the World Bank.
What the government policy and infrastructure programs are centered on those major cities. It created the Ministry of Construction, Urban Development, and Housing to initiate infrastructure programs. Projects and programs implemented include Municipal Program for Urban Mobility of Abidjan in partnership with the Municipal of Abidjan National Office for Technical Studies and Development, and the United Nations Development Program. Cote d'Ivoire has been cooperating with the UNHABITAT Urban Management Program's Regional Office to formulate policies, programs, and strategies on urban governance, elevation of urban mobility, and urban environmental management. Hence, Cote d'Ivoire emphasizes the need for member states to fulfill the right of all people to adequate standard of living and adequate shelter. It highlights the need for governments to prioritize human settlement programs and activities to upgrade informal settlements and urban slums in their development assistance programs to the United Nations.
The PBC's roles includes organizing key actors to generate resources for the Peace Building Fund and allocating monetary assistance to qualified beneficiaries. The PBC is also tasked to provide integrated strategies for post-conflict recovery and reconstruction in failed states. Bangladesh is a staunch supporter of the peace-building initiatives and the United Nations efforts for peace building. It is also one of the top providers of military personnel and civilian police to the United Nations peace-building missions. In December 2010, Bangladesh was elected to serve the Organizational Committee on the Peace Building Commission. Recently, it was recognized for sending an all-female contingency to the UN peacekeeping missions. Bangladesh commenced the work of the Peace Building Commission in conflict resolution, recovery, and funding assistance. Bangladesh highly appreciates the continued efforts towards expanding partnerships with various international, regional, and national actors. Despite these significant advancements, there are challenges confronting the Peace Building Commission, such as the need to review monitoring of conflict-torn areas, to improve coordination between donors and agencies, and to expand funding mechanisms. With this in mind, Bangladesh urges the Peace Building Commission with the Peace Building Fund and to ensure rapid funding mechanisms in assisting early stabilization in countries emerging from conflict. Bangladesh reiterates the promotion of gender sensitivity and the involvement of women in peace building and peacekeeping operations, as outlined in the Security Council Resolution 1325. Lastly, Bangladesh calls upon all member states to reaffirm their commitments to the Peace Building Commission through closer cooperation and provision of technical and financial assistance. Let us all be beacons of hope in this parallel chaos that engulfs our world. This is Bangladesh's call for peace. What is your answer? Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any points or motions on the floor? The delegate from Kenya. That's in order. Was that a point of inquiry or was that a short speech? Oh, short comment. Okay. Sorry about that. The delegate from Cote d'Ivoire.
The delegate of Cote d'Ivoire would like to raise CP25 point of inquiry.
That's in order.
The delegate of Cote d'Ivoire would like to ask delegate Bangladesh, how can we make the peace building fund mechanism more rapid or closer?
Would you like to answer the question?
The delegate of Bangladesh believes that assuring that the trust funds from multinational donors is imperative for the Peace Building Committee, and that to provide prompt and immediate funding to countries emerging from conflict is what we need.
Thank you. The delegate from Rwanda. That's in order.
Rwanda would like to first thank the delegate of Bangladesh for their commitment to the PDC, not only to the PDC, but to their reaffirmance of the need for member states to increase their funding for the PDC and further PDC. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Are there any points or motions? The delegate from India.
The delegate
Both P23s have been exhausted, however, there's still one P25 remaining. That's in order. Yeah, point of inquiry? Or? Would you like to answer that question? Okay, no, we'll answer your question in writing. That is us, all P23s and P25s. Thank you, Delegate from Bangladesh.
Right to freedom of movement, residence, and the right to immigrate and emigrate to any country, including their own. However, they become vulnerable to abuse and violation of their rights once they set foot in foreign countries. The International Organization for Migration ensures orderly, humane management of migration, international cooperation on migration issues, and also assists us in the search for solutions to migration problems. The development benefits of migration and the protection of the rights of migrant workers are inseparable. Irregular migration hinders the development of migrant workers with irregular status because they are most often excluded from labor and social rights. The Kingdom of Norway values migrant workers as it depends on skilled professionals to operate in the fields of technology and on industries. Thus, it does not only ensure the rights of its migrants, but also lets them enjoy the same social benefits and protection as Norwegian citizens. Norway continues to take the view that protecting the rights of migrant workers is a shared responsibility of origin and destination countries. In light of this, Norway is determined that transparency between governments and international organizations like the IOM is a step towards ensuring the protection of rights of migrant workers. Norway is firmly convinced that migrant workers benefit when international cooperation takes place during all of the stages of the labor migration process: pre-departure, post-departure, work, and return. Norway expresses the need for all member states to create specialized government agencies to carry out a comprehensive program to protect the rights of migrant workers in all the three basic stages of the labor migration process.
Thank you. Are there any points of motion in order? Any other motion? Okay, seeing none.
Member states to intensify efforts in addressing the root causes of political conflicts and emergency situations which require humanitarian assistance intervention. Lastly, the People's Republic of Bangladesh believes that risk assessment is essential as it would determine the diverse factors that can bring about harm to humanitarian aid workers and would provide enough precautions in order to prevent high risk and danger. Through the risk assessment, NGOs and UN agencies would be able to check for potential dangers and able to concentrate on anything that may cause serious harm to aid workers. Moreover, this action would determine certain precautions to counter the hazard and reduce the risk in their field of work. The government of Bangladesh strongly supports risk assessment as we believe that this would make their workplace a safer environment. Thank you.
Delegate. Are there any motions on the floor at this time? For one member, what motion do you rise?
P25,
That is in order at this time.
thank you very much, Madam Chair. The Republic of Rwanda is pleased to hear the delegate from Bangladesh mention the importance of risk assessment. We would like to ask the delegate how to elaborate more on some of that criteria of risk assessment and how that would look.
For the delegate to respond.
Madam Chair, the delegate would like to respond. For the risk assessment, it would be better if certain UN agencies and other NGOs would look for hazards and check for potential dangers that may cause harms to the aid workers. And risk assessment would also provide precautions to reduce the risk towards the humanitarian aid workers.
Are there any other motions on the floor at this time? Seeing none, please step down.
Honorable Chairs, fellow delegates, good day. Education is a basic human right and a vital element to achieve sustainable development. Despite the seasonal efforts of national and international institutions, there are 70 million children who are still not in school. A large portion of the world's children without access to education live in conflict areas and natural disaster-stricken regions. It is imperative that all children are given access to education. The United Nations works closely with national and international stakeholders to mobilize broad support for the fulfillment of children's rights. Bangladesh has accomplished great progress in recent years to increase primary enrollment rates. Bangladesh has already attained gender parity in the net enrollment of boys and girls. It is also making major steps towards achieving the goals of the World Education Summit of Dakar on education for all. The government has adopted comprehensive education policies such as Food for Education program and the Primary Education Development Program to ensure quality education. Primary education is free and compulsory for all children in Bangladesh. The government provides free books and reading materials for the primary school students and collaborates with international organizations like the World Bank and the UNICEF. The government has already set up 12 learning centers for disadvantaged groups with 20 NGOs since 2006. The government has also encouraged civil society to be involved and has been sending volunteer workers and home teachers into depressed areas. The People's Republic of Bangladesh is committed in achieving education for all. Bangladesh acknowledges the importance of education in supporting efforts in emergency situations to stop or prevent abuses, violence, exploitation, trafficking in persons, and child labor. It encourages member states to guarantee access to education in emergency situations to all affected populations in accordance to international law, without discrimination of any kind. It requests developed countries, especially donor countries, to continue sending technical and monetary assistance for educational programs in developing countries stricken by armed conflict, natural disasters, and calamities that impair the efficient provision of education. Bangladesh encourages the launching of provisional educational services such as School in the Box and mobile schools. Bangladesh also endorses feeding programs and other incentives to boost primary enrollment. It is important to take special measures, including the provision of clothing and sanitary materials and the hiring of female teachers to support the participation of displaced girls. Lastly, Bangladesh encourages member states to provide alternative schooling or skills training programs for children whose household and economic obligations impede school attendance. Bangladesh believes that education is to be given to all children without discrimination, as education is a benchmark for sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Would the delegate?
To our distinguished chair, to my fellow delegates, good morning. Achieving a universal primary education has been a challenge, especially to developing countries. More so, it is a struggle for countries experiencing conflicts and natural disasters that force people to move. There are more than 40 million refugees and internally displaced persons in the world, and 27 million of which are children and youth. These children are deprived of education due to destruction of schools, unavailability of teachers, and shortage of materials. Before the civil conflict that broke in 2002, Cote d'Ivoire was a model in the African region for the quality of its education system. The education policy of Cote d'Ivoire focuses on 3 objectives, namely to achieve universal primary school enrollment, to reduce gender inequality in education, and to literate the adult population. However, with the continuing political dispute in the country, 519,000 internally displaced persons and 150,000 refugees, where majority our women and children are forced to move. This gives Cote d'Ivoire the great challenge of addressing the needs of women and children, particularly education. Cote d'Ivoire developed the National Education Training Development Plan over the period of 1998 to 2010, resulting in the development of the education system in the country. The local Schoolgirls Mothers Club was founded in Awobo to raise money for the improvement of local schools and to support girls' education. The United Nations Children's Fund continues to support 40 of these local Schoolgirls Mothers Club in Cote d'Ivoire and made additional efforts in combating the problem of education in the country.
Decision-making process in the United Nations. Bangladesh calls upon other member states to promote equal opportunities for persons with disabilities and the youth that will enable them to fully and effectively participate in civil, political, economic, social, and cultural activities. Thank you. I would like to yield the rest of my time to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate from Finland, under what point do you rise?
We would like to rise for P25. Yes.
That is in order.
Solutions in addressing statelessness. The 1954 Convention relating to the status of stateless persons and the 1961 Convention on the reduction of statelessness are efforts that aim to assist stateless persons and to address the issue of statelessness. However, it is important to take note that only a limited number of member states have signed and ratified both conventions. It is of great importance that we work together to combat the increasing number of stateless persons who are vulnerable to human rights violations. The Kingdom of Norway pledges its full support in addressing statelessness by providing financial assistance to the UNHCR and by implementing projects through the Norwegian Organization for Stateless People. Currently, most of the stateless persons residing in Norway have been granted residence and working permits. As such, these people are able to work and live productively. Nevertheless, as United Nations, we are called to tackle problems collectively. We call on all member states to come join us in this effort to solve the issue of statelessness by ratifying and implementing the 1954 Convention relating to the status of stateless persons and the 1961 Convention on the reduction of statelessness. With our active engagement and political leadership, let us all together collaborate with the UNHCR in providing basic services such as food, shelter, clothing, and medical assistance to stateless people. We encourage the 3 member states should enhance the common refugee system in terms of our reception, procedures, and status determination. With these simple efforts that will hopefully be accomplished, it is with great optimism for me to say that not only would stateless people be protected, these efforts may also lead to the complete eradication of the issue of statelessness. Thank you, and once again, good afternoon.
Thank you. Are there any motions on the floor? Cuba.
The Republic of Cuba would like to rise their P25 for the inquiry.
That is in order.
In regards to the issue of statelessness, to what extent is Norway prepared to aid the establishment of Palestinian state?
Would you like to answer that question?
Yes. The Kingdom of Norway has this organization called the Norwegian Organization for Stateless People. It does not only help stateless persons in its country, but it also has program countries, especially in developing countries.
All right. Are there any other motions on the floor? DPRK?
Democratic People's Republic of Korea would like to rise their P25 for the inquiry.
That is in order.
The DPRK would first like to applaud Norway's commitment to helping stateless people. We'd like to know specifically if the delegate of Norway and the Norwegian delegation would support increased aid, support, and security for UNRWA operations serving the needs of the displaced Palestinian peoples.
Would you like to answer that question?
Yes. I think Norway would be willing to support that.
All right, thank you. All P25s have been exhausted, but we still have 2 P23s if there is any motions on the floor. All right, seeing none, thank you, Norway.
Has nearly donated $90 million last year in addition to its other aid to internally displaced persons. It also promotes the use of the United Nations guiding principles of internal displacement in all UN-led programs that address the needs of IDPs. Adhering to the fundamental purposes enshrined in the UN Charter, Norway values the extent of what international cooperation can do. Hence, it collaborates with member states, UN agencies, especially the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, or UNHCR, to establish a plan providing funding and support for the development of integration and resettlement programs, as well as facilitate the provision of immediate relief to IDPs. Let us all make a real effort and see that progress will not be possible unless the IDP's social needs and human rights are fully respected. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any points or motions on the floor? Delegate from Afghanistan.
Afghanistan would like to rise on P23 for short comment.
That's in order.
The government of Afghanistan would like to thank the delegate of Norway and her government's contribution in economic aid to the government of Afghanistan, and their great example of inspiring non-governmental organizations such as the Norwegian refugees.
Thank you. The delegate from Cote d'Ivoire. That's in order.
Delegate Fodor would like to thank the delegate of Norway for actively funding countries in need, especially Cote d'Ivoire, and the delegate of Fodor hopes to work with the delegate of Norway.
Thank you. Are there any other points or motions at this time? Seeing none, thank you, Delegate. You may return to your seat.